You're finally ready to risk some GP and get real kills. These are my favorite setups to do so. This current setup is my absolute favorite setup for many reasons. You get a good amount of Saradomin brews, a good amount of double eats, and a good amount of KO potential. The risk is very low, and in a setup like this, you're risking 6.3 mil, but if you add the parchment paper, it's closer to 7 mil. Some upgrades include the Light Bearer ring, which increases the regeneration of your special attack, giving you about 4 Karasi specs or Voidwanker specs throughout the fight. Dragon Boots just gives you a higher max hit for your Voidwanker, which is a good combination with Light Bearer. Then we have the Amulet of Fury, which gives you quite a bit more tankiness and max hits than your Glory counterpart. And then lastly we have the Odium Ward, which is a good alternative to the Blessed Spirit Shield. It has good magic defense, but it does cost quite a bit of money. Also, can't fail to mention the main reason to use it is it buffs your range strength, giving you higher max hits for your crossbow. Now this one would be an example of an upgraded version of our first setup with a Serpentine Helm, meaning you don't have to run any more Venom Pots. Then we got the DFS, which is absurdly fucking tanky, I hate it, which pairs well with a Voidwanker. And then with that we also have the Light Bearer, more max hits with an Amulet of Fury. Some people like to go D-Boots, as we said earlier, but that's up to you. Right now, apparently, Ahrims is pretty cheap, so I think it goes 4 to 5 mil, but I still don't think it's worth it to run it. But again, that's entirely up to you. In a setup like this, you can expect to risk anywhere from 22 mil, and if you do want to run the Ahrims, you can go up to about 30 mil, but that's basically a max setup at this point. Also, before we go any further, I want to just quickly highlight over the weapons and armor that I do have. So, Carol's, Bando's D-Hide, DCB, Blessed Spirit Shield, and this is Blood Bark, which is it's the most magic defensive magic armor when compared to Swap Bark or Mystics. Here we got Brimstone Boots, Sears Ring, and you should know the rest from previous videos. This next setup we're going over has very good survivability, with there being 7 brews as well as an Ancient God Sword. An Ancient God Sword will just help you in those sticky situations. 4 Anglerfish is almost certain you won't get KO'd, as well as items such as the Occult Necklace comboed with the Staff of Light gives for maximum hits beyond belief, at least for magic. And in general, you're going to have high max hits with your Heavy Ballista coupled with your Carol's Bandos. I like this setup because instead of going for a straight up surprise KO, they die over the course of like 5 seconds from just getting hit massive max hits from your Occult Necklace, Ballista, and the stack with the 25 Ancient God Sword. Some upgrades I might personally make would be a Toxic Staff, which is the same damage and max hit as a Staff of Light, but you get the added benefit of Venom. And of course we got the Light Bearer, which again you get more special attacks throughout the course of the fight, which is always a benefit, especially if you're going for an Outlast setup, which this sort of is. In this setup you can expect to risk around 9 mil, which it starts to get up there, especially because of the Staff of Light. This is where your main money loss is. So with that being known, maybe you might want to use a Smoke Staff, I don't know, up to you. Some Voiders like to run a Ballista setup, which is pretty good in my opinion. It does, crazy amounts of damage, and mix that with an Ancient God Sword, sometimes it's just impossible to stay alive no matter how many double eats you have. You're risking 20 mil as opposed to 23 in the other one, which is not too bad, and again if you had the parchment papers this should be around 25 mil in total. As always, you can downgrade or upgrade whatever items you may want to use. For example, I got rid of the Light Bearer and got a Sears Ring, saving me about 2 mil, maybe 3 mil right there. And instead of a Fury, we went with a Glory, and that right there saved us about 2 mil. Putting us at a grand total of 14.8 mil, which that's kind of doable now. I would almost do that personally. I'm not a huge Void person, but that one is getting into the Hypno price range. I could do that, I think. Though, as some may know, I am pretty clunky when it comes to Void setups with all the helmet switches and whatnot. So, I personally, you wouldn't catch me in this, or at least anytime soon. crystal aliens start getting hungry. They start hunting. Especially if you're streaming, you know, you're gonna find some crystal aliens, some Ahrims aliens, and you best be ready to fight. Now, a void setup like this is essentially max as well, and with this you have really good DPS, having the Odium Ward as well as its fucking void. And then for here we got the Amulet of Fury, Light Bearer, but this time I'm going with the Staff of Light because typically everybody has a Serpentine Helm, so that Venom factor, I don't know how needed that is, so we're just going to bump it down by a couple mil by going to the Staff of Light. In a setup like this is around 23 mil. I think with the parchments it turns out to be like 27 mil, but I'm not entirely sure. This last setup can officially be called max. This is because we have a Carol's leather top, not just the leather skirt, as well as Ahrims top and bottom. The use of two special attack weapons such as the Void Wanker and the Armadyl Godsword give an extreme amount of KO potential, as your opponent will not know what to pray against when they're getting attacked. But naturally this comes at a cost, as you will lose your Armadyl Godsword when you die. An inventory like this you can expect to risk anywhere from 30 mil to 40 mil. Some gear switches you might want to make are a Brimstone Ring instead of the Light Bearer, and what this does is make you way more tanky, more accurate, as well as add a max hit or two to your melee. Sometimes you might want to go D boots, again if you want max hits, but in most cases a Brimstone boots will do the job. Now if you don't want to use two special attack weapons, this should lower your risk from about 40 mil to a good 26 to 30 mil. Not too bad. That about covers all the viable setups that you can kill other PKers in. Each setup here has enough KO potential, outlast potential, and should be tanky enough to fight anyone, except maybe the likes of AHK and Crystal Aliens, but that's just how it goes. Let me know in the comments below if I missed any crucial builds or information, or if you were just able to get a PK with the help of this video. Love to know, and stay hydrated.